Therefore, today I am going to be calling upon our Lehigh Valley legislators to introduce an appropriate bills to reauthorize in some fashion an independent counsel statute for Pennsylvania. I intend to write a letter which will go out today or tomorrow to all of the Lehigh Valley legislatures, both in the House and the Senate, asking them to consider drafting an appropriate bill in order to get this matter before the legislature so that in the future we have a legislative mandated process that is clear and addresses what I think are the concerns raised and still left open by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision in the Kane matter. I do have copies of my comments, and I have attached a copy of the former independent counsel statute to the press release, which was the law for a period of 5 years until the law sunset. I'd be happy to take some questions.
John, have you had any conversations with legislators about this?
I have not had any conversations with legislators recently. I think I bumped into, I don't know, maybe a month ago, Steve Samuelson somewhere and mentioned to him, but I have not sat down and had any meetings with him about it.
How about the Pennsylvania District Attorneys Association?
We have not. I'm not in the loop of the leadership of that organization anymore, and I am going to ask them, however, to support this as well. I don't know what their response will be, but I have not discussed it with them.
Do you have any sense of what the local legislators, what their thoughts are on this?
I don't. In my experience in the past, whether they've been Democrats or Republicans, whenever I have suggested some legislation, they have looked at it. Sometimes they have followed through, sometimes not. But, you know, I leave this to the judgment of the legislature. But I look at it from this standpoint. We had a law in the books for 5 years. It's sunset. The concerns at that time, I think, were, as I recall, the debate was whether it was necessary, whether this was the correct process or not. I think in light of what has happened recently with the Attorney General, and particularly after reading this decision by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, we have avoided the law. And in the future, we hope that there's never any further cases like this. But the fact of the matter is that there needs to be some mechanism to address these cases and not having this in litigation. I believe that had we had this statute, you know, we would have had the process and there would be no questions about it. But we now still have, even though the Supreme Court, and I think their reasoning was sound in terms of what they came down on, but they were very careful to limit this to a grand jury leak. And they also noted that because the special prosecutor in that case deferred to the DA, and by basically saying, here's the presentment, we're not going any further, they never really addressed the issue of could he have gone further. Suppose he had charged himself. Suppose he would bring the charges. Right. Would that have been legal? They haven't addressed that issue. So in order to avoid these kind of matters, I think that this statute makes sense. Hopefully it'll never be used, but in the event the scenario arises, we have a process in place.